make a start. As I say, we're doing 3 cards. I'm putting 3 together, but I'm only stenciling the first one. So we're going to be using this fabulous Winter Forest. I adore this. You know, I say this every release. This has got to be my favourite release of Lisa's. And we're all the same. The whole of the DT, we're all the same. But I've got to be honest. You know, last Christmas was absolutely gorgeous. But this Christmas, Lisa has absolutely smashed it out the park. And then I'm using the white set of sentiments. These are out of the box kit. They all say exactly the same thing, but I love the fact that they're in 4 different colours. And the white ones, obviously, you can adapt and make them suit whatever colours you're using. So again, fabulous, fabulous. Can't wait for the box kit. And then I'm just going back and using some older product as well. I'm using the circles because that's what one of my cards is based on. I'm using the essential edges, but I'm only using this one, and all will become clear. I'm also using last year's poinsettia and holly. I love this. It's absolutely adorable. I haven't coloured it. All I've done is cut it out, and I'll show you in a bit. And then I've used these fabulous Deck the Halls sentiments. I've only used, I think I've used the Merry Christmas on the cards that I'm doing today. So there's a mix of the stickers and these. But this is such a fabulous little set. And the thing I love about it is you can either use, I'll show you, you can either use the backing one with the cutout words. If I use the right one, it would help, wouldn't it? So you can use the backing one with the cutout words, yeah? Or you can use the backing one, this one. So this gives you a slightly bigger word. So the one I'm missing the middle one. Okay, so the one I'm missing is this one. I haven't cut this one out because I used it on another card. So you could use just that. You could use that and that. You could use that and that, or you could use that, that and that. So they're so versatile. They're just cracking, and they're such a fabulous size as well. They're just amazing. Love them, love them, love them. And the font is typical Lisa. Just beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, so let's get cracking. So to start with, this is the card that I made in preparation. Okay, so I'm not going to use these colours today. I want to use different colours. Now these are blending inks on glitter card. Okay, and I used Shocking Pink and did I use Sweet Violet? I think I used Sweet Violet on these. And all I've done is I've gone quite heavy on the one stencil and quite light on the other one, but I've used exactly the same colours. Okay, so I've done the back layer and then I've done a smaller front layer just to lift it and make it look a little bit different. So all I've done is chosen a card that matches, and then I've coloured my white sticker and 3D'd it onto the card. So that's where we're headed, but today's is going to look slightly different. Okay, so if I just stand that up there out of the way. So we are using a 7x7 card. Okay, and I've got 4 pieces of card here. I've got my matte and layer card, and this one is 14.5 by 14.5 centimetres, and the smaller one is 10.8 by 10.8 centimetres. Okay, and then I've got 2 pieces of glitter card, 14.2 centimetres squared and 10.5 centimetres squared. Okay, and I'm just matting and layering and stenciling on both pieces. Okay, so what I want to make sure of is that I get my stenciling in exactly the same place, because obviously I want them to line up. All right, so what I've done is I've already marked out on my silicone mat where I want this card to sit, and the way I did that was I just used number 2 stencil and situated my card sort of in the centre of that stencil. Okay, lifted the stencil out of the way and drew my lines round to make sure that it's in the right place. So that's going to be in the middle of these stencils, all right? And then when you come to the other one, all I've done really is by eye is sit this on top of here, move this out of the way, and just draw my lines where that piece is. Okay, so I've got marks on here where I know these two pieces are going to go, so that's going to save me time when I'm stenciling today. Okay, it takes a little bit of time, it's a bit fiddly, but it's well worth taking that little bit of time to just mark your board out, and it'll come off, the pen will come off anyway, so you're not going to spoil it. Okay, so let's start with our stenciling. Now today's is going to be obviously blue based because of the backing card. So we're going to be using Surf's Up and Deep Ocean. I might not use Deep Ocean, but we'll see. So let's just make a start, and we'll do these pieces of snow here first. All right, don't actually really need them all on the back piece, but I want to stencil the whole piece, and then I know I haven't missed any. Okay, so I do circular motions, and then I brush into those apertures just so that I know I'm pushing all that ink into those apertures, and then the same over here. Okay, so that's number one, and we'll come on to number two. Now all I'd say is don't worry if your stenciling goes slightly off your glitter card, because I've actually cut the glitter card to fit the embossing folder, and I've cut it to fit my mat and layers, so it might not be totally in the stencil might be sort of slightly over the edge, but don't worry about it, it's not going to be a problem. Okay, so we're going to start with Surf's Up. Now I'm starting at this side and I'm going reasonably heavy. Okay, the second layer that I'm going to do will be lighter because I want a differentiation between the colours, even though I'm only using one colour. All right, I'll just put that up there, then it won't move. That's the fabulous thing about these silicone mats, is you don't need to worry about having anything else to stand your ink pad on. It just sits on your stenciling mat and away you go. Now when you're doing this end one, be careful because this piece here will lift. Okay, it's a reasonable size. I mean, you're not gonna wreck it, but just take care when you're stenciling, because if you go in a circular motion, you're going to lift it up and then your ink's going to be underneath that, and you're not going to get that sort of stenciled look properly. You know what I mean? Okay, so there's my Surf's Up. Now before I take that off, I want to add some Deep Ocean. All right, I love this colour. Now I'm going to start off on the stencil and then brush upwards, because I only want it at the bottom. So I'm just brushing this up, and if you see, I'm not actually stopping, I'm flicking the brush, and if you flick the brush up, you won't get like a solid line across. It'll be a soft blended line. Be careful when you're doing this bit, because again you don't want to lift that, so just be very, very light with your touch there, and then you can carry on the end here, and then just brush up, and you can go as far up as you want to, or not, as the case may be. See, I love that. I think it's really pretty. So that's my first stencil, and then I'm going to come in with number 3. There's only 4 stencils in this set, and like I've said to you before, I think with Lisa, if it needs 4, you'll get 4. If it needs 24, you'll get 24. I don't think we've gone that bad just yet. I think 12 is the most we've got at the moment, but it's that attention to detail that you get with Lisa's stencils, and the embossing folders are just the same. If you need that many stencils, there's a reason you need that many stencils, and there's a reason that there'll only be the tiniest detail on one of them, because she can't put it on another one because it won't work right. You know, it takes her hours doing these. I know it takes her hours, and I can see that the end result is well worth all that effort. Right, so with layer 3, we're going a little bit lighter. So hold the brush further back, and then you won't get a heavy colour, okay, because you can't press too hard with that brush. The further you hold it back, the less pressure you'll get on the head of the brush, okay. So don't be tempted to come down and hold it here, because otherwise you will end up with too much pressure on the brush head, and then you'll spoil the effect. So that's my Surf's Up, and again I'm going to do exactly the same with the Deep Ocean, but again I'm going to hold the brush further right towards the end, because that way I'm not going to get any pressure on that brush. So I'm only going to get a light covering of that Deep Ocean, because I don't want it to take over that softness of that Surf's Up. Okay, and again you can go as high or as low as you want. Remember, on this particular card, I mean I'm showing you a technique here, aren't I, but on this particular card you won't see this, so it's sort of, it's a bit surplus to requirements on this bit, but it's still showing you a technique, so I stuck with it. Now, I think that looks amazing. I really do. I love this set. It is a stunning, stunning set. You're a genius, Lisa. So on here, I did wonder, now what colour can I do these? Because this is like snow, isn't it? And there's snow at the bottom here. And I thought, well, it's on white glitter card, so I can't use white because you won't see it. So what colour can I do? And I thought, why not just stick with the blue? It doesn't really matter what colour you do it. If it fits in with your theme, then go for it. So that's what I've done. I've just gone with Surf's Up on all these little blue, on these little bits that are snow that would normally be white. I haven't used colour on one of the other cards. I've used something else, which I'll show you in a second. So we're doing this one, and then we're going to do the other one. I'm just going to do the smaller square, just so that you can see my sort of process, if you like. Now, when you take this off, if you're not happy with the amount of colour you've got on, put the stencil back on the pegs and do it again, because that's the beauty of the system. You can just take it off, add it back, add some more colour, even go back if you've missed something. That's the beauty of the system. Okay, now they look quite pale, but I don't mind because they're in the background. Okay, so that's my first piece. Alright, and then my first piece is going to go down on this piece of card. Now when you're handling this, all I would say is remember that because this is on glitter card, I know these are blending inks and they should dry reasonably quickly, but just be conscious of the fact that this ink might be a little bit wet because it's on glitter card. Okay, so just be careful. So then we're going to do the smaller piece. Now this is where your measurements are going to come in really, really useful, because if I line this up with those red markings, I now know that my image from my stencils is going to sit right in the middle of this image here, so it's going to line up perfectly. So let's do the smaller piece. So we're going back and we're using exactly the same colours, and we're just going to go through the whole process again. Alright, now like I said, I wasn't going to, I was just going to have it already done, but I thought no, let's just go through it all, and then you can see how easy it is and how quick it is. You know, 4 stencils, it's not going to take long at all, is it? So let's put that out of the way. Then we're coming in with number 2. Now remember which one you did in light and dark. So we went heavy with number 1, so we're going to go heavy with number 1, with number 2. So we're going to do exactly the same again. So it's going to sit on top of that first layer really beautifully. You don't have to make it a square. If you want to, you can do it in a circle, cut the circle out and just have trees in a circle, which again you might see in a second. Okay, just make sure that that's deep enough, and then come in with our deep ocean from the bottom and just add that bit of blue on the bottom here. And again, just using that flicking motion so that there's no harsh line on that stenciling, remembering to be careful of this so that you don't lift it up and add your ink underneath that piece, because that's the last thing you want. So it will stay where it is, just as long as you're careful. So that's number 2. Then we're going to come in with number 3, and again we're going lighter with this one. So hold your brush at the end, go for that lighter effect on that piece of card. If you wanted to, you could just stick a bit of tape on this piece of card that's underneath here, the smaller one, because it's not going to move on its own because it's sitting on a silicone mat. My only concern for myself is that I might catch the card as I lift the stencil off. So that would be the only reason I would tape it down. I haven't today. I did yesterday, but I haven't today. So just something to bear in mind. Just add that bit of dark blue. And if you find you've gone a little bit too heavy, just keep brushing it, because the more you brush it, it will just sort of blend in with everything else. So don't worry about it. But if you hold the brush as far back as you can, you won't get that too heavy sort of effect. Just enough. It's better. Okay, so then we can come back and add in our snow on here. Now this was quick, wasn't it? Okay, so I'm going to leave it at that, and then what I would do with this piece is I would just run it through the embossing folder, because this piece I want to look a little bit different to the background. The background's flat, and this piece I want to look a little bit embossed. Okay, so I didn't want to run it through the embossing machine today because it always rattles my camera. So I did one yesterday and embossed it. Okay, you can see I've embossed it if you look at the back. Okay, now can you see what I mean about the detail on these trees? If you were just using plain card on here, can you see that? If you were just using plain card and you didn't want to colour it at all, look at the detail that's on those trees. How fabulous is that? It's just beautiful, beautiful. So that's my top piece, and that's my bottom piece. Okay, so let me just move that out of the way because I don't want ink on the back of my card. So let's bring my card in, and then we're just going to add the glitter card pieces down onto the matte and layer pieces. And you can see I've just used a card that's a similar sort of tone to the inks that I've used. I love turquoisey type blues. I think they're beautiful. So I'm just going to add this down. Now it is the tiniest matte and layer, and that's all you need with this. You don't want it too big because otherwise it's going to spoil the effect that you're looking for. Okay, so if you have a matte and layer that's huge, it's not going to draw the eye in the same way. All right, so that's my first layer, and then my second layer obviously is embossed, and that's going to go and sit on this piece here. Now they should all be square, just check. I'll just add my glue down on here as well. And you can see that the ink is probably a little bit wet because I've got ink on my fingers, and that's that top piece, that bigger piece that I've done will still be a little bit wet because I've used glitter card. It'll be absolutely fine. I mean, I don't really think it will come off to the degree that you need to redo any colour. Okay, so that's my top piece. Now I've 3D'd these. Okay, so let's add this down here, and I'm just eyeballing it. I never measure, can't be bothered. It's far too much like hard work to measure. If you do it by eye, you're never very far away, are you? Let's pop that in the middle. Now what you want to make sure of is that you line this up with the stenciling that's on the background, okay? And you know it's pretty much where we sort of place the card on the ultimate. It's not going to look too, just go up a little bit, I think. And the beauty of the fact that it's on glitter card is you've got a little bit of wiggle room with those pads. They will stick, but it just gives you that extra little bit of time before they adhere and adhere, so that they're not going to move, right? And then all I've done, as I said, was I've just inked one of the white sticker sentiments, and I've backed it onto the same matte and layer card and then a bit of glitter card, and again I've 3D'd it. I've put 2 pads on one end because I'm putting this to off center, because I like off center, so I know that it's going to sit a little bit higher this side. Let's bring it down a little bit. Okay, so those double pads there means it's going to be level. Okay, how gorgeous is that? And how different do they look? But you know, the same but different. I just think they're beautiful. So my others, this one was just I wanted to use a bit of acetate. Okay, now I said to you I cut the trees out, and there's the trees cut out. They're just gorgeous. And this is where I've used my essential edges. Okay, so I've just cut a piece of card, cut a piece out of my card blank. Okay, now this card is 14.5 centimeters squared. So all I've done is, again, I've used glitter card, and I've used Surf's Up, and I've used Shocking Pink. Okay, so I just wanted to make them look totally different to anything else that I've done. Now, how am I going to position these once I've cut them out? All I've done is I've used the piece that I've cut out of the card. If I put it back in the right place, okay, so if I put it back down there, put my trees on my card where I want them to be, lift that piece out and draw myself a line on the back of my trees where I need my glue. Okay, so you can see I've added my acetate inside, and I've used double-sided tape. Yes, you can see it, it's on the inside of the card. I really don't think it's going to matter. Okay, so I've added my acetate in, so I've stuck this piece onto the acetate. Now this piece is loose and this piece is loose. Don't worry about it, because your trees are going to catch those and keep them down. Okay, so I'm going to add my glue where I know I need it, because I've drawn my line using the piece that I cut out of the card. I'll add that there, and then these pieces are just going to catch that card. But what you don't want is the glue to show on that acetate the other side. Okay, so I just need to open that, place my trees so that my lines don't quite show, and then stick it down. Okay, so the tops of my trees are catching that piece of card there, and they're catching the piece of card here. Now you can see I use stencil number 1 down here, actually on the card base, and I've used Lisa's glitter paste. I used the polished silver because I wanted it to stand out. I wanted it to be a different colour to the trees. Okay, so I've stenciled that bit first, and then I've put the trees on top. Alright, so it looks exactly the same as it would if you hadn't cut it out. Okay, and then all I've done is, again, I've used one of the white sentiments, I've inked a piece of the glitter card, same colour as one of the trees, and then just put some pads on the back. And that's, I don't want to detract from the trees. All I want is the smallest sentiment on the top, like so. Okay, so you've got your acetate in the background, your glitter paste on the bottom, and your trees in front of the acetate. And that, again, that looks totally different to the other two. Yeah, So the final one, oh, the one thing I did want to show you is this is done on white glitter card, okay, and it's done with blending inks. Now, I know that a lot of you will have the interference inks, and you can use the interference inks on glitter card just exactly the same way, and they look fabulous. And the interference inks look different on ordinary white card and ordinary black card, okay? They won't do that on glitter card. Well, they won't do that on Lisa's glitter card. And the reason they won't do that on Lisa's glitter card is because there is so much glitter on this black card that what you're actually colouring is the glitter, not the card, okay? So if I show you with these two, this is Sapphire Gold Shimmer, all right? Now, on black card, you would expect it to be green, wouldn't you? Because that's how it works. On white card, it's, just stuck my thumb in it. On white card, it's blue, and on black card, it's green. Not on Lisa's glitter card, it isn't. It's blue. Because there is that much glitter. I think, did she say there were about 3-4 different colours of glitter? This is blue. This isn't green. This is blue. So don't expect it to do the same on the glitter card as it does on ordinary black card. Alright, if I just show you with the crushed velvet, I love this colour. This would normally go gold, okay, on black card. It's not going to go gold. It's going to stay in that beautiful, beautiful reddy purple. Can you see that? Does it show up on the camera? See, it's quite subtle on here. I mean, I can actually see it better in real life. But those are the colours that you would normally get on white card. Okay, so remember that. If you want to use the interference on glitter card, they will act the same as white card. Okay, something to bear in mind. Now this is 7x7, as you can see. And you can see here that I've used some embossed pieces in the background. This is the Satya and Holly from last year. Alright, and I've die cut it and then embossed it. And what I've done is this piece here, I've cut it out. I've cut it away from the main piece because it sits beautifully in that corner. So it's like it's sitting like that across my corner of my card, and you can't see this piece. And I thought, well, it's a shame to waste it because you're just hiding it. So I've just cut it away. Okay, and I've added it to the corner, opposite corners, where it would have been blank. All right, and I just think it lifts the card. All right, so if I just take my pieces out quickly, you might see them. Now this is the Euphoria glitter card of Lisa's. This is that beautiful jewels pack. I'll show you. This one that came out, the jewel tones, and this is the green that looks golden, the gold that looks green. I think it's fabulous stuff. All right, so I've put my pads on the back of here already, and I know I'm going to hide this piece, which is my cutaway, these two pieces here, and where I've cut it away from is here and here, and you're not going to see those either. So it just fitted beautifully where I wanted it to. It's about in the middle, I think. And then what I did was I used those interference inks on black card. Okay, so I cut my circle and then stenciled on top. So again, I've put my card down onto my Ultimate 2, and then I've put my stencils on the top, and then I've manipulated my card so that it's exactly where I want it to be. All right, and these are the bits of snow at the bottom, which I've used Lisa's Falling Snow white ink pad on. But up here, I was going to use the dewdrops, but the dewdrops were too big, and I wanted to put my sentiment up here, so I didn't want to use the white ink. So all I've done is used the stencil, and I've just used a gel pen and added gel pen through the holes that I would normally ink through. You with me? So I've used the Sapphire Gold, this is this one, and on the other stencil I use the crushed velvet, which gives me a sort of a goldy colour. This is a greeny gold, and this is a gold, right? And you can see the difference. They do look totally different, and I just love the effect. Now I haven't embossed this one, primarily because I forgot, and once I put my pads on the back I couldn't emboss it anyway. Okay, so then I'm just going to pop that down in the middle of that circle, like so, making sure it's in the middle. And again, because I'm adding this down to glitter card, I've got a bit of time where it's movable, right? And don't forget, when you're doing this on dark card with those interference inks, that ink is going to stay quite wet. So be careful when you're doing like layer 2 and 3 and 4 that your ink is dry. All I would say is have a piece of kitchen towel or something just to take off some of the wetness on the layer that you've done before you go and do the next one. That's all I did. Okay, and then I just want a sentiment that sits on top, and again I've cut it out of the same green that I've done the circle out of, and I'm just going to sit it at the top of my circle, just so that it's, I was going to put it down here, and then I thought, well, actually don't really want to hide those trees, so let's go somewhere completely different. And that was the other reason that I used the gel pen through the stencil rather than the ink, and rather than the pastel dewdrops. I did start and add them down, but then I thought, if I want to put a sentiment up there, it's going to look a little bit too crowded with pastel dewdrops, so that's why I went with the gel pen, and I think it works. I think I've added a few more, I've got to be honest. So I've used the gel pen through the stencil, and then I've just gone and added a few more where I wanted to. So then I'm just going to add the sentiment down there. Don't worry about any excess glue, because it'll dry clear anyway. Fabulous glue this is. This is Lisa's glue, this one. Don't leave it on a windowsill. Don't leave it sitting in the sun. If you leave it sitting in the sun, it'll go all watery, and it'll take it ages to get it back to its right consistency. Okay, and you know, it's fabulous glue, just look after it. Don't leave it sitting in the sun. If you want to bring it back, stick it in the fridge, and then it will come back to what it should be. It's brilliant stuff. Alright, so there's my other one. So I've mixed and matched last year's Christmas with this year's Christmas, alright, on that one. So there you go. There's 4 cards, well, 3 that I've done today, but 2 that are the same but different. But I just think it shows the versatility of those stencils and the embossing folder. It's just stunning. It is gorgeous. Beautiful, beautiful. So have a fabulous week, stay safe, stay cool, and I will see you very soon. Thanks now, bye.